Hello everyone, welcome to the economics class. I am Suma, economics lecturer, Gopalswamy PU College, Mysore. In today's session, let us learn about the Central Bank of India in the lesson the money and banking. Before we move to the topic, I wish to quote a shloka of Bhartrhari in relation to money, that is Danam Bhogo नाशस्तिस्रो गतयो भवन्ति वित्तस्य यो न ददाति न भुङ्क्ते तस्य तृतीया गतिर्भवति. This shloka says that money can have only three states, that is charity, enjoyment or loss. One who neither donates nor enjoys with his money can end up in the third state. So, this says importance of money in our life, that we have to enjoy the money that we have earned, and a part of that we have to donate. If we didn't do both of these, and ultimately it will be lost on its own. So, money is one around which the human life is revolving. Therefore, money plays a very pivotal role in everybody's life. So, now let us move towards the topic of the RBI and its function. But before discussing about the Reserve Bank of India, let us learn about one more division of the money. That is, in our previous session, we learnt about that there are three types of money, that is fiat money, fiduciary money and high powered money. And all these types of money are existent in our economy. So, now let us see about the categories of money based on the decreasing order of the liquidity. The first one is narrow money and the second one is broad money. Narrow money is one, that is M1 plus M2, and the broad money is M3 and M4. You all learnt in the previous session, that is M1 includes the currency plus demand deposits plus other deposits, and M2 is M1 plus the post office savings account money. So, these two can be easily liquidated. The M1 and M2 are the most liquid forms of money, and M3 and M4 are the least liquid forms of money, because the M3 contains the net time deposits along with M1, and the M4 contains M1 plus all types of deposits of post office account, and therefore these are the least liquid forms of money. So, these two are the another category of money. Let us see about the Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India is the leader of the economy. It is the leader of all the banks of our country. So, therefore, RBI is called as the Bank of Banks. It was established on 1st April 1935 and was nationalized on 1st January 1949. So, it is the one which regulates the complete financial sector of our country. So, therefore, it is called as the Central Bank of India. The Reserve Bank of India plays a pivotal role and it enjoys a pivotal position amongst all the other banks in our country. Reserve Bank of India is one which has the complete authority of issuing the currencies to the country. The Government of India has reserved the issue of 1 rupee coin and 1 rupee note, and rest of all the other types of the currencies and coins are minted and printed through the Reserve Bank of India. The headquarters of Reserve Bank of India is at Mumbai. Reserve Bank of India is the one which controls the money supply, and also it regulates the monetary situation of the country by its periodical rules and regulations and the policies it frames from time to time. So, now let us discuss about the functions of RBI. RBI chiefly performs, or it mainly performs 7 functions. The functions are as follows. It is the bank of issue, it is the government's bank, it plays the promotional functions. And the fourth one is controller of monetary supply. Fifth one is bankers bank. Sixth one, it is the custodian of foreign exchange and gold, and the seventh one is collection of data. So these are all the very important functions. These are all the very important functions performed by the Reserve Bank of India. This Reserve Bank of India, though it was formed by the British government in the year 1934 itself, till date it is undergoing lots of amendments in its policies and rules to suit to the needs of the situation. Now let us discuss about the functions of the RBI individually. The first one is the bank of issue. As I said, the Reserve Bank of India is the sole authority in our country to issue the currency. So you all know about the fiat money. Fiat money is nothing but the legal tender. So in India, rupee is considered as the legal tender of our country, and all the currencies are issued in the name of rupee only. So the Reserve Bank governor has his sign on it. Each currency has the signature of the Reserve Bank of India. So the Reserve Bank of India has the right to issue the currency notes and the minting of coins from time to time. The government of India has reserved only the issuing of the currency note and coin of only 1 rupee, and rest are all issued by Reserve Bank of India. The second one is Government's Bank. So the Reserve Bank of India is known as the government's bank because all the state governments of our country and the union territories of the country have opened their account in the Reserve Bank of India except Jammu and Kashmir. The governments open their account in the Reserve Bank of India to avail the facilities that the Reserve Bank of India is offering to them, as well as to seek loans during the times of emergencies. The third one is promotional function. The Reserve Bank of India is just not only into the issue of money or into the regulation of the monetary system of our country, but it is into the promotional functions. It is into the developmental activities of the country through its different types of banks called as NABARD, that is National Bank for Agricultural and Rural Development. The second one is SIDBI, Small Industries Development Bank of India, and the third one is EXIM, that is Export Import Bank of India, and like this it has many branches to promote the developmental activities in the economy for the economical development and growth of the country. Fourth one is controller of money supply. This is the very important function performed by the Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India has an eye always on the monetary supply and monetary demand that is existing in the country. Reserve Bank of India always watches the demand for the products and price inflation as well as the price fall, that is the deflation. Reserve Bank of India is the balancing factor for the demand and supply of money. It always regulates the demand and supply situation and brings into an equilibrium this situation, because if there is high demand for money or if there is low demand for money, either case is harmful for the economical development. So therefore it always watches the economical situation of the country. Fifth one is, so about this controller of money supply, let us learn in detail after discussing the rest of the three, because from the point of view of your examination also, this question is very important, that is explain about the function of Reserve Bank of India as the controller of money supply. Let's see about the Bankers Bank. The Reserve Bank of India acts as the Bankers Bank because according to the license issued by the Reserve Bank of India only, all the rest of the banks are established. So therefore all the banks have an account with the Reserve Bank of India, and Reserve Bank of India maintains a cash reserve ratio of all these banks, and the Reserve Bank of India is the lender of last resort. For example, if a bank issues loans and if it does not get the loan returned, then the Reserve Bank of India is the only resort for this commercial bank to go for the loans, because it has to issue the loans again to the public, so that only it can earn income in the form of interest. So therefore, Reserve Bank of India is also known as lender of last resort. Sixth one is custodian of foreign exchange and gold. Reserve Bank of India is the custodian of foreign exchange and gold in our country. As I said in my previous session, until Reserve Bank of India maintains rupees 2000 crore worth of foreign exchange or gold in it, it will not issue fresh currencies. So therefore, Reserve Bank of India always wishes to attract the foreign currencies, because if a person is dealing with the country of Japan and if he supplies goods from India to Japan, he gets the payment in the form of yen, that is the currency of Japan. So he has nothing to do with that currency in our country. Obviously, he has to deposit it with the RBI, and in exchange he gets Indian currency. So like this, the export and import activities are going on in our country, and whatever the goods that are exported from our country are paid by the currency of that country to which it is exported, and all these currencies should reach the Reserve Bank of India only, and therefore the Reserve Bank of India is known as the custodian of the foreign exchange and gold. The Reserve Bank of India reserves the gold in the form of bullions, because at times of emergency it can be easily liquidated. Therefore, the Reserve Bank of India maintains both the foreign exchange reserves as well as gold reserves. The seventh one is collection of data. Apart from all the functions related to monetary activities, Reserve Bank of India is into the collection of data also. Being the central bank of the country, the government expects the central bank to furnish the details related to the economic activities that are being undertaken in the country. For example, if the government of India or any public, if he wishes to know about the number of account holders from the Jan Dhan scheme, then the Reserve Bank of India is ought to furnish the details related to that. So like this, Reserve Bank of India issues from time to time the related data which is helpful for the analysis and comparison. Now let us learn about this fourth function, that is controller of money supply, in detail. Let us see about the fourth function of the Reserve Bank of India, that is the controller of money supply. So now to learn about that, we have to learn about the monetary policy of Reserve Bank of India. The monetary policy of Reserve Bank of India is categorized into two. The first one is quantitative tools and the second one is qualitative tools. So these are all the measures undertaken by the Reserve Bank of India to control the supply of money in the economy. So now let us see about each of them in detail. The first one is open market operations. Open market operation is nothing but the situation of economy in the country, that is amongst the public. What is the money that is being in transaction among the public? Suppose, for example, if the income of the public or if the income of each individual person is more in an economy, naturally what happens? The demand for the product increases, because all the economic activities like production, consumption, distribution and exchange are done through money only, and each and every individual is related to these activities and money is revolving around these four economic activities only. Income is generated out of these four economic activities only from the different sectors of economy like households, firms, industries, the government, etc. Here, if the income of the public is more, naturally the demand for the product increases. When the demand for the product increases, it results in price hike and inflation. So, to control this situation, the Reserve Bank of India has its own plan. When naturally, if the demand for that product increases, people go for loans in the commercial banks. Commercial banks issue loans in the attraction of earning interest so that they can earn more income. But this is not a good situation for the development of economy, because 34% of our population is living below the poverty line, and if the demand for the product increases, and for the people who are lying below the poverty line, it becomes very difficult to have food also. So, to bring this inflationary situation under control, Reserve Bank of India has a plan, that is, if everyone wishes to buy the product, naturally the demand increases and nothing will be left for the consumption of the poor people. Therefore, Reserve Bank of India immediately issues some securities and bonds, and these securities and bonds are made compulsory for the commercial banks to buy from Reserve Bank of India. Naturally, what happens? The commercial banks, whatever they have the extra income by earning interest from giving loans, they deposit these extra money with the Reserve Bank of India in the form of bonds, and naturally the demand for the product also decreases because there is no money left with the commercial bank to issue to the public as loans. ಒಂದು ಸರ್ತಿ ಹಣದ ಹರಿವು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದರೆ ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳಿಗೆ ಉಂಟಾಗುವ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾನೇ ತಾನಾಗಿ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದಾಗ ಬಡವರಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವನ ನಡೆಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆದ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದವರು ಯಾವಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾರುಕಟ್ಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವೆನೆವರ್ ದ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ರೈಸಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ವೆನ್ ದ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್. ಯಾವಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಆದಾಯ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಆವಾಗ ಪದಾರ್ಥದ ಬೇಡಿಕೆಯೂ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪದಾರ್ಥದ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ ಹಾಗೆ ಬೆಲೆ ಏರಿಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬೆಲೆ ಏರಿಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಾಗ ಬಡ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಕೊಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅವರು ಜೀವನ ನಡೆಸೋದೇ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದವರು ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಬಾಂಡ್ನ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳವರು ಅಥವಾ ವಾಣಿಜ್ಯ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳು ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಕೊಳ್ಳಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ದೇ ಮೇಕ್ ಎ ರೂಲ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಈಚ್ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬೈ ಇಟ್. So, naturally the demand for the product reduces because of the shortage of money with the public. ಯಾವಾಗ ತಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇರೋ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಹಣದಿಂದ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳು ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತವೆ, ಆಗ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಸಾಲ ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ನವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಹಣ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳಿಂದ ಬೇಕಾದಂಥ ಸಾಲ ಸೌಲಭ್ಯ ಸಿಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಆವಾಗ ಅವರು ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದನ್ನು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದನ್ನು ಅವರು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ತಾನೇ ತಾನಾಗಿ ಇಳಿಯುತ್ತೆ. ಆಗ ಬಡ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಕೆಳ ಮಧ್ಯಮ ವರ್ಗದವರಿಗೆ ಜೀವನ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದವರ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಟೂಲ್, ಒಂದು ತುಂಬ ಪ್ರಬಲವಾದ ಅಸ್ತ್ರ, ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಬಲವಾದ ಅಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ಇದು. ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್ ದೆನ್, ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿ ದ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ವೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಟು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ದ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್. So when the situation is under control, because either the situation of more demand or less demand for the products in an economy is harmful. So at that situation, the Reserve Bank of India gradually releases the bonds. ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದವರು ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟೀಸ್ನ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ನ ಕೊಳ್ಳದೇ ಇರಬಹುದು, ಬಟ್ ದ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಟು ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಟ್ ಟು ಬೈ ದ ಬಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಡ್ ಬೈ ದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ಸ್ ದ ಲೈಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದೀಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾಂಡೇಟರಿ ಫಾರ್ ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಟು ಬೈ ದೀಸ್ bonds. ಆಗ ಜನರ ಬಳಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಹಣದ ಹರಿವು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಒಂದು ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಹೈಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಮನಿ ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಆಫ್ ಮನಿ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅಂಡರ್ control. So after this, the Reserve Bank of India slowly releases the bonds to these commercial banks, and the commercial banks start getting the money, and they after that give the same money to the public in the form of loans. ಆ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಥವಾ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ದ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಮನಿಯನ್ನು ದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ excess of money that is existing in the economy for that particular period, and after the accomplishment of that purpose, the Reserve Bank of India maintains the balanced situation of economy in the country, and then afterwards the banks, commercial banks start issuing loans at fresh, and people start availing it, and then the commercial banks start earning the money in the form of interest. So this is called as open market operations. So if we have seen, if there is more income, the situation is like this, and Reserve Bank of India takes into consideration the control of the economy. But if the situation is reverse or vice versa, if the situation of the supply of money is less in the market, naturally there will be a recession, because if the supply of money is less from the commercial banks in the form of loans, the public does not wish to buy anything in excess. Obviously the price hike comes to down, and there will be a price fall, and again it is a harmful situation, and again Reserve Bank of India should come to the help of the economy. It will result in the depression and finally recession, and the firms start sending their employees out of the firms, and unemployment situation arises. Again the situation is not good, because if there is more money, then the price hike takes place, and if there is less of money, people die out of starvation and hunger. This is the situation of economical imbalance. The Reserve Bank of India follows its own measures in the form of issuing the bonds to the commercial banks, and then regulates the economy and brings a balanced situation. So now let's move towards the second one, that is legal reserve ratio. The legal reserve ratios are of two types. That is, the first one is cash reserve ratio, and the second one is statutory liquidity ratio. The cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratios are the compulsory savings or compulsory reserves that these commercial banks has to maintain with the Reserve Bank as well as within themselves. So now let us see about the cash reserve ratio. The cash reserve ratio is that amount that the commercial bank is supposed to keep, each and every commercial bank is ought to keep with the Reserve Bank of India for some contingency reasons. For example, if a commercial bank gets rupees 1 lakh as deposits, so out of that, for example, I am saying the cash reserve ratio may be 5%. So 5,000 of cash reserve ratio must be kept in the Reserve Bank of India, and 10% of statutory liquidity ratio must be kept within the vault of that particular bank only, in the form of government securities, or in the form of cash, or in the form of gold. So now let us see what is vault. What is a vault? A vault is a safekeeping compartment or storage compartment in each commercial bank, and in this the reserves kept in the form of statutory liquidity ratio is reserved in it, because all the money that the commercial bank gets in the form of deposits is lent to the public as loan, and if at times if anybody demands their deposits, and if there is a shortage of money, then the commercial banks can go to this statutory liquidity ratio, and then out of that the demand deposits can be returned to the public. ಸೊ ಇದು ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣವನ್ನು ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದವರು ಬಳಸುವ ಒಂದು ಅತ್ಯುತ್ತಮ ಸಾಧನ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬಹುದು. ದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಟೂಲ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಅಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸೀಸ್ the commercial banks, by lending all the loans to the public, what happens? They stay with zero money. So at times if the request for the withdrawal of any of the demand deposits comes, then they were running to the Reserve Bank of India for getting additional loans. To control this, the Reserve Bank of India made it mandatory for the commercial banks to maintain both the cash reserve ratio as well as the statutory liquidity ratio. The third one is the bank rate policy. Bank rate policy in these days is little outdated, but it is still existent. This is the rate at which the Reserve Bank of India lends loans to the commercial banks for long term period. These commercial banks issue loans to different types of persons. So persons like Nirav Modi or Vijay Mallya who have taken crores of amount in the form of loan may not repay. At that situation, again there will be a shortage of money for these commercial banks to repay the deposits that they have received from the public. At that situation, the commercial banks run to the Reserve Bank of India to get the loans. Then the Reserve Bank of India penalizes them, saying that you have to pay additional interest because you have lent money to one who was not trustworthy. So it is a penalty on you to pay more interest for this, and therefore the bank rate policy's interest is higher than the other rates of interest. So naturally what happens? All the money that is collected in the form of deposits were lent as loans by the commercial banks, and at times they don't maintain the necessary required amount for lending the loan in addition to the required one. Therefore, as the bank rate policy charges the rate of interest high, for example if it is 10%, then if the commercial bank what lends money from the Reserve Bank of India for 10% cannot lend it again to the public for additional for 15%, because every commercial bank wants to earn profit in the form of interest. ಯಾವಾಗ ಒಂದು ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯಾರಿಗಾದರೂ ಸಾಲ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅವರು ಅದನ್ನು ಹಿಂದಿರುಗಿಸಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಆಗ ಅವರು ಬೇರೆಯವರ ಸಾಲಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಗೆ ಅವರ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟ್ನ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮರುಪಾವತಿ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳ ಬಳಿ ಹಣ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಗ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳು ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ಹಣ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಹಣವನ್ನು ಸಾಲವಾಗಿ ತಂದು ಆ ಸಾಲದಿಂದ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೇರೆಯವರಿಗೆ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ಗೆ ಸಾಲವನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಅದರ ಬಡ್ಡಿಯಿಂದ ಲಾಭ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಶಿಕ್ಷೆ ಅನ್ನುವ ಹಾಗೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ದರದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಲವನ್ನು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ದರದ ಸಾಲವನ್ನು ತಂದು ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ದರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಸಾಲ ಕೊಡೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ರೇಟ್ಗಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ದರದ ಸಾಲ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೊಬ್ಬರು ಆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೊಬ್ಬರು ಸಾಲ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಲ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವ ಆಸೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಆಗ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಪದಾರ್ಥಗಳ ಬೆಲೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ರಿಡ್ಯೂಸಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಹೈಕ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅಂಡರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರೋಲ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಗೈನ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟೇಟಿವ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಟು ಬ್ರಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಹೈಕ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಸಿಚುಯೇಷನ್ ಅಂಡರ್ control. The fourth one is repo rate policy. The repo rate policy and reverse repo rate policy both are there in today's economy. The repo rate is the short term lending rate of Reserve Bank of India to the commercial banks. These commercial banks, after issuing loans to the public, they will not be left with few more money to lend to the people who have demand. So obviously these commercial banks go to the Reserve Bank of India for additional loan facility, and then the Reserve Bank of India charges additional interest. For example, maybe if it is 18%, 20%, the Reserve Bank of India charges a higher rate of interest, and bringing the loan out of that additional rate of interest, these commercial banks cannot give it again to the public, because with a high rate of 20%, 25%, no person is ready to get the loans from the commercial banks. For example, if the Reserve Bank of India fixes the repo rate as 20%, then the commercial bank has to lend it to the public for 25%. If a person gets a vehicle loan, then he has to repay the amount of that vehicle twice within 4 years. So this is one such situation. Again, the Reserve Bank of India controls the monetary supply in the economy. So now let's say about the reverse repo rate. This reverse repo rate is one when the Reserve Bank of India observes any one of the commercial bank is making lots of profit out of getting interest out of the loans from the public. Obviously, the Reserve Bank of India holds a control over that and it demands the money from that commercial bank. That is, repo rate ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ನವರು ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಅಡಿಷ್ನಲ್ ಸಾಲ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕುವ ಬಡ್ಡಿ ದರ. ರಿವರ್ಸ್ ರೆಪೋ ರೇಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕು ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಲಾಭ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ತುಂಬ ಉಚ್ಛ್ರಾಯ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಎನ್ನುವಾಗ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅವರನ್ನು ಒಂದು ತಡೆ ಹಾಕೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾ ಹಣವನ್ನು ತಾನು ವಾಪಸ್ ಸಾಲದ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಾಲದ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಂಡ ಹಣಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೇಟನ್ನು ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಬಡ್ಡಿಯನ್ನು. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ reverse repo rate. The reverse repo rate is the rate at which the Reserve Bank of India gets money from the commercial banks to regulate the economical situation of that particular bank, because it will go on earning more and more profit and the demand for the product again goes on increasing, because the more amount of deposits if a commercial bank gets from the public, the more amount of loan is also lent to the public, and when more amount of loan is available to the public, obviously the demand for the product increases and it results in the inflationary situation. So all these are the quantitative measures of Reserve Bank of India to regulate the monetary supply of our country. Now let us discuss about the qualitative tools of Reserve Bank of India to control the monetary supply in the country. These quantitative tools are equal for all sectors of economy, but the qualitative tools are not equal for all sectors of economy. It is different for different sectors of economy. Now let us see about the first one, that is marginal requirement. That is, the commercial banks wishes every individual who wants to avail a loan facility in that bank should keep some amount as margin, that is the down payment. For example, if a person goes to avail a car loan of rupees 5 lakhs and then the bank officers say him to keep some amount as down payment, that is margin amount. So it asks him to keep 20% of loans amount, that is for 5 lakhs 20% is 1 lakh. This 1 lakh can be kept by that individual person. So if it is only 20%, then every person is ready to buy the car, because the car loan is available for just down payment of rupees 1 lakh. So the demand for car in the market increases and the price of the car also increases and it results in the inflationary situation. Otherwise, if the bank says him to keep 50% of the vehicles or cars value, that is 2,50,000 as the down payment, then this person returns because he is not having rupees 2,50,000 to keep as margin. So then obviously the demand for car reduces and the price of the car also will be under control and the inflationary situation will also be reduced. The price hike will also be reduced because the demand for that particular product is less. So this applies only to the car loans and housing loans, but this qualitative measure does not apply to the sector of education loan. As I said, this qualitative measure is only applied to the selective sectors and it deals differently and separately with different sectors. So if it is an education loan, the marginal requirement does not require any kind of down payment because it is going to help students to go attain education. The second one is selective credit control. Here also the qualitative measure says that there are some selective situations or selective sectors to which the loans and the interest rates of the bank deal differently. The selective credit control measure of Reserve Bank of India says that the loans should be given to selective sectors which are useful, because if the commercial bank give more loan to the real estates or to the car only, what happens? The demand for these products go on increasing, and the people who are dealing with the real estate and car are earning more and more income, and the poor people who are unable to attain proper education because of the lack of money will suffer. To control this, the Reserve Bank of India has a selective credit control measure. It stops giving loan to the cars and real estate, or it charges more amount of interest, or then it prioritizes the loan for the education sector and retail business, because the education sector and retail business are very important sectors of the society, and therefore the Reserve Bank of India regulates the loans that are given to these luxury sectors. Then it concentrates on these priority sectors. So this is called as the selective credit control policy of Reserve Bank of India. The next one is moral suasion. Suasion is a word which is derived from persuasion. If the income in the society is increasing and the situation of demand for the product increases, naturally the price of the product in the market also increase. In this situation, the Reserve Bank of India calls the heads of all the commercial banks and organizes a meeting and holds a meeting, and in that meeting Reserve Bank of India says that since you are giving lots of loans to the public, they are buying the product and the demand for the product is also increasing. As the demand is increasing, the price is also increasing, and it is becoming very difficult for the poor people to live in this country, and the number of poor people is increasing day by day, and the rich are becoming rich. The difference between the rich and poor is increasing gradually. So therefore, the Reserve Bank of India orders these commercial banks to stop giving loans till certain period, until the situation of these demand for the product is under control. So this is the order of the Reserve Bank of India. All these commercial banks are ought to listen to the order of the Reserve Bank of India, and they stop giving the loans to the public. So soon after stopping the loans to the public, naturally the demand for the product decreases, the price hike situation will also come to control. So this is again one more qualitative measure of the Reserve Bank of India to regulate the monetary policy of our country. And the last one is disciplinary action. As all these commercial banks are formed with the license of Reserve Bank of India, maybe it is a commercial bank or a scheduled bank, which are all formed under the guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India. If they are unable to follow the monetary measures, the rules and regulations and policies framed by the Reserve Bank of India, the Reserve Bank of India has a disciplinary measure, that is, it cancels the license of all these commercial banks. This is what happens in the case of economical imbalance because of the high lending rate of loans. So at that time, the Reserve Bank of India, whichever the bank that is not listening to the guidelines of Reserve Bank of India, Reserve Bank of India reserves its right to cancel the license of these commercial banks. So altogether, with 5 quantitative measures and 4 qualitative measures, Reserve Bank of India regulates the money supply in the country, in the economy, through its own monetary policies. So with this, I conclude this session. In our next session, let us discuss few more topics related to this lesson. Thank you.